Hello and welcome to our show Transparent Talk. I'm your host, Heather Weigel from the Eastern Echo, and I'm here today with Speaker of the Senate, Taylor Lawrence.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it.
No problem. So what's your major, Taylor?
So I am a political science major, minoring in economics. I've actually had that declared from the start, which is weird because I know that a lot of people switch it up a lot.
Mm-hmm. How do you think those actually apply to your role in student government?
So having a poli-sci major, it's pretty great for this sort of thing. I get to learn about institutions, the legislative process, how governments basically work, and I also get to see examples of what really good representatives are and what some not so good representatives are. So you kind of get to learn as you go, and I think I've been able to learn a lot from my professors and just from real world stuff. But yeah, and then in terms of economics, just being able to study money, finances, scarcity of resources, that sort of thing. I think it really comes in handy, especially since we go to EMU.
Yeah, it's got the scarcity of resources here. But so you said real world experiences too. You've also worked in Lansing and on campaigns. How do you think that applies to your role in student government?
For the campaigning side of things, we do have to do that sort of thing. So this past election cycle for student government, I had to run my own campaign and then help out Ethan Smith and Hadjar Abu-Wazir, who were running for student body president, student body vice president. So I got to help them out, and I wouldn't say that I was the reason that they got elected, because they are both absolutely fantastic individuals, but I would like to think that I just helped out a little bit, because that was definitely something I wanted to be a part of. But the whole campaign side of things, being able to run a campaign in the 2018 election cycle was huge for me, and I definitely learned a lot, and I was able to translate those skills over, and things were just a lot simpler then. So yeah.
Right, and then office work helps you out a little bit too? Or?
It does, yeah. Being able to intern for my congressman and for a state senator in Lansing, that was fantastic. I got to see, firsthand, like I said, what good and bad practices are. I really don't think there were any bad practices with the people I worked for. They were both fantastic, and I just really got to just soak everything in. I loved it, every moment of it. It was great. Being in Lansing was awesome, and then being able to work in 20 minutes away from my hometown in Flint, for my congressman was awesome too. So being able to take those experiences and apply them to what I'm doing in student government, it's awesome. I love it.
Right. And this is also your second term as Speaker of the Senate, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything from your last term or changed anything up from your last term? Because that could also fall into real world experience.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So when I started off, I had only actually been in student government for about 3 months the year before. So this is my third year in student government. I joined up pretty late at the end. And so, I was pretty ambitious, but at the same time, I didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on, compared to previous speakers like Anna. And so I was really learning on the fly, just like all of our other senators were. It was a great experience for myself and that core group, because we kind of got to make a lot of mistakes and we got to learn the entire time. So I think that really made us closer, and it really helped us figure out what works best. And then as the Senate grew, we were able to expand on that, and now we have almost a full Senate, which I can't remember the last time we did have that. So now we're able to take what we learned, what worked, what didn't work, and apply that to what we have now. And so right now we have a whole new set of requirements to try and get senators engaged on campus, and that's what I've been really working on for the past couple weeks, if not the entire beginning of the school year, is just trying to see how we can best get the senators to engage with the students here at EMU. Because in the past, I'm not saying we didn't have success, but I think there was room for improvement. And so being able to work with President Smith and the parliamentarian, Jack Swarzinski, on this sort of thing, and then the rest of the Senate, I think it's turned out really well, and I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to do some really good things this year.
Right. So you think the administration has a good handle, the student government administration, I mean, on student affairs, and having a full Senate helps?
Yeah,
almost
I definitely.
Full Senate.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, 2 seats. If anyone wants to do it, definitely I'd recommend it. But for sure, I think I could not ask for a better group of people to be around on the executive board. Ethan and Hadjar are both fantastic. I really wanted, I wanted them to run. I think that I could not think of better people for the job. Ethan's been involved with student government for a really long time, so he's got all the institutional knowledge, and he's been able to see, been able to climb up the ranks the entire time, whereas Hadger has an outsider perspective, and she's really able to give a fresh look into student government, which that was great, because it really keeps you in check, because sometimes you can wander off the, off the path and kind of forget about student interests. So it's really keeps you in check and keeps your focus intact. And then the other members, Jordan, Alana, Fadwa, Mohammed, they're all fantastic, and Jack too. I guess I give Jack a little bit of a hard time, and Katie as well. I could not ask for a better group of people to be around, and I think we all keep each other grounded, and we help each other out as much as we possibly can. And it really, as the year progresses, we turn into a family, and that's what's most important. So I was sad to see a couple members leave last year, but we have a lot of people returning this year, so it's really great.
Right. So changing pace a little bit, what would you say a typical day looks like in your role?
So I like to do my office hours in the morning. So I'll usually roll up to the office at 9 o'clock, and I will first thing I do is I'm going to check my email. I have about 18, 19 people that I wouldn't say work under me, but we work together, so that's all the senators. So there could be a lot of communication that I need to catch up on, because I am a student as well. So, try and get my homework done in the evening, try and get student government stuff done in the morning. But yeah, so I'll check my email, go through check where all the resolutions are, if there's any updates, any changes, because, there's a lot of senators, they're all trying to do a bunch of different things. So I want to make sure that they have the resources necessary to get take care of what's done. After meetings, typically we try and, follow up, make sure all the meeting minutes are sent out, make sure that, if someone didn't show up, I've got to, tell them that they're going to have to come to internal affairs. So that's a lot of communication there. But really, it's just a lot of communication with the senators and making sure that the legislation is where, where it's supposed to be at.
Right. So one program that you're putting together right now is the iClicker program. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that, or?
Sure. So I was actually scrolling through Twitter one day, and I just so happened to see this video from Wayne State student government, and it was the president and vice president talking about how over the summer they had basically got this pilot program together for iClicker, an iClicker lending program at Wayne State, and I thought that this was a fantastic idea. So I reached out to them, and they're both fantastic individuals, and so I was able to really figure out what they had in mind. And basically what we're doing is we're doing a pilot program for the winter 2020 semester, and it's going to be 100 iClickers that we were fortunate enough to get donated to us from the Office of Community Wellness. And those iClickers are going to be barcoded, and you can check them out just like any other book. It's just going to be first come, first serve. And really what we're going to try and do is we're going to, we want all those clickers checked out, and we want all of them returned. And hopefully this will be a great tool for students to use. I mean, iClickers can be expensive, and a lot of students, they only need them for one semester because it's not part of their their major requirements. It's usually general education. And when they return them, or when they have to sell them back if they buy them, they might be getting like $20, $10, $20 off of that sort of thing. And we're all college students. We can't afford that sort of thing. So, just trying to mitigate costs anywhere, it's really helpful.
Right, and those will be available at Halley Library.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Right. So that's a pilot program right now. How do you see the program expanding?
So in terms of expansion, right now the first thing that we would look at is what is the need. So we had a survey sent out from the Faculty Development Center, and really that went out to all the faculty members here at Eastern. And what we're looking for is just to try and, we know that 100 iClickers, those are going to go pretty quickly, but how much do we actually need? And so what I did was I had that survey put together really quickly and sent out, and we found out that roughly 1,000 students are going to be using iClicker on a given semester. Now, taking into account of students from bio and chem, crossing over taking those classes, because that's one of the biggest chunks of students, we found out that it's going to be somewhere between 700 and 500. And after that, we just I need to find the funding to get more of those iClickers. So I had applied for a grant through Women in Philanthropy. I actually had a couple people who sat on the board tell me this was a great idea and this was something I should consider. I didn't even know it existed, and so I decided why not. And because if we're not spending student tuition dollars from student government on this sort of thing, I think it's a win. And so that's what I did. And whatever we don't purchase from that expansion project, if we get the grant, then we'll just use from student government money.
All right. So there were a couple displays last week on campus from pro-life groups. How have you as a student leader been able to balance concerns about student free speech and just general like protecting students from things they don't necessarily have to see?
Yeah. So I completely support the initiative that President Smith took. He put out a statement, and student government, we are on a college campus, and this is an area where, there's an free exchange of ideas. And so whether or not we like those ideas or we agree with them, and if it does harm other individuals, that's an unfortunate circumstance. But the best thing that we can do is we can take that speech and we can fight it with speech that we agree with, or speech that would protect somebody else. So we saw a lot of counter-protesters or activists from, I believe it was Planned Parenthood Next Gen, and they were there. So really what we want, that's the sort of thing that we like to see, is an exchange of ideas. And, student government, we will stand by the fact that there is some speech on campus that, it will harm people, and it will be negative. But at the same time, people are entitled to their views, and, we will absolutely, respect those views. And I have to keep in mind too that I represent 1,000 students, so that's the sort of reality that I have, and I don't get to pick who those 1,000 students are. So
Right,
I have to
for
take all ideas into account.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think that is just about it. Are there any other things you'd like to add?
Our office is on the 3rd floor in Prairie Herald in the Student Center. So, if you ever need anything, just make sure to stop by. We're a great resource for students, and we're always here to help. We represent you. So, yeah.
Yeah, solid.
Hey Ben, I saw that you had an eventful weekend.
What do you mean?
Duh! Ben, those party photos you posted online a couple days ago where you were living it up? The ones where you were YOLOing all over the place? Here, let me show you.
Alright, I got it. YOLO, you only live once. It's my excuse to act crazy. I deleted those pictures though.
Yeah, about that. I screen grabbed some of those pictures and sent them to Benji. It was golden. You have to remember, Ben, what goes online stays online. And once it's out there forever.
Well, it's out there now.
Most of the time, after something gets posted to social media, it will be duplicated many times from server backups, living in the cloud forever, even after you remove it. A good rule of thumb is if you think what you're about to post could be harmful to you or someone else, just don't post it.
Yeah, last thing I want is for my family, or even worse, my employer or my friends to see me YOLOing all over social media.
Yeah, that applies to more than just pictures, It can apply to all types of content posted online, including text and videos.
Oh man.
You should also be cautious about the amount of personal information you have available online for people to see, such as your full name, birth date, address, phone number, mother's maiden name, etc. Yeah, I'd hate for someone to see you're going to be at a party Saturday night, go to your profile, get your home address, and break into your house while you're out partying. Or use your birth date and your mother's maiden name to answer a security question in an attempt to reset your online password and hack your account.
I definitely wouldn't want that to happen.
Me neither. But being selective about the information you have accessible for people to see is very important. Check your privacy settings on your social media sites to make sure they only have information you want people to see. Yeah, I like to copy my profile URL, log out of the website, and paste it back into my web browser. Then I look over my profile to get an idea of what information of mine is open to the public.
That is a great idea.
It sure is. So what else are you going to do, Ben?
I'm gonna stop and consider any consequences before I post any type of content to my social media websites.
We are back. So we were just talking about free speech on campus. Is there anything else you'd like to say about that?
Like I said, I represent 1,000 students just like any of the other senators, and what's really important is just making sure that I do the best to represent all 1,000 of them. I don't get to pick who they are, and so I'm just going to do my best to hear what everyone has to say and take that into account, when I'm doing my job. So, yeah.
Right. So are there any roadblocks in that kind of thing that have come about in your tenure on the Senate?
In terms of free speech or just generally speaking?
Just generally speaking, it can be related to free speech or...
The biggest thing I think is money. Sometimes a lot of problems can be solved with money, but unfortunately we are not, perhaps the University of Michigan or Michigan State. So we don't have a large endowment, and student government doesn't get a great deal of funding. We're very thankful for what we do have, because I know that it makes a huge impact with students. But I would love to be able to have our business and finance give every organization exactly what they request. That would be amazing, because the experiences that these students get out of when they come to us, what they're telling us that they're doing, it's really difficult. And I give all the students on business and finance all the credit in the world, because they have a lot of tough decisions to make. But yeah, I think one big thing is funding. I really, really wish that we had more money, but I completely understand the reality of things, and that's okay. Because I know that we're able to do what's right with what we have, and we'll make that money stretch as far as we possibly can for students.
Right. So I know in this year's budget, it was a split allocation between club sports and student organizations, and that kind of brought some issues to some of the business and finance committee meetings. Were you present for any of those, or how much?
So unfortunately, I chair another committee, so I'm not always able to be present at every of those meetings, even though I want to. And there's also 3 of them that go simultaneously, so I'm always checking in and out, making sure that everything's running smoothly. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there that day for that particular one. But just being able to talk to everybody, I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of people are new. We have a new director of business and finance, Mohammed, and he's learning just as much as anybody else. And I think the split allocation was just for the better. And it just really works out. Just trying to work out a couple of kinks. That's all it really is. So I think we're all good now. We're ready. Ready for anything.
Yeah, and of course the first couple weeks of a term are always.
Absolutely. We're always learning, and not to mention, there's an influx at the beginning of each semester. So, I think they handled that with poise, and I think they did a good job, and, I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure. So business and finance is one of a couple committees, and you chair the internal affairs committee.
Correct.
What with that do you mostly do?
So internal affairs is, I'm trying to phrase this the right way, it might be just the most boring one. It's very uneventful. I don't want anyone to be at internal affairs, and I mean this in the best way possible, because when someone comes to internal affairs, a good chunk of the time it's because they've missed a meeting, or they haven't done their job as a senator. So the less I have someone there, the better. But I do love when new senators are able to come to IA for training. That's what I really want to see there. So try and stay away if you're here for an absence, but we really encourage you to be here if you're a new senator, because that just brings new voices to the student body, or for student government, and that's what we like to see. So it's a balance, because that's all we really handle. It's basically just resolutions on changes to the bylaws, which really don't happen that often, or censure or impeachment, which we never want to see. So yeah.
Right, and on that committee, you are usually with parliamentarian Jack Swarczynski, correct?
Yeah. Jack's one of my good friends, and I cannot say enough good things about Jack. He's always been by my side, and he always continues to help me. He keeps me in check. I keep him in check. We're always joking around with each other. Some people, when they first meet us, they think that we don't actually like each other, because sometimes we can be hard on each other, but that's just the dynamic that we have. But yeah, he is a mind that is unmatched when it comes to parliamentary procedure, and that's why he has the position that he does. So he really helps out all the time. He's a human encyclopedia with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, And do you assist him with some of his duties sometimes, just as he does yours?
Yeah.
Or?
So Jack's, what's good about his job is he can have a narrow focus with what he's doing, so he can really focus in on, just basically the bylaws and just procedural stuff. So sometimes he might forget, oh, this is what a senator has to do, or, this is an event that's coming up, because I'm kind of a mix. I'm a senator while I'm also on the e-board, where he is now too. So it's really just like just kind of reminding him of just certain things, but I can't remember the last time that's even happened, if it's happened at all. So, that's really how it works.
Right. So you are the Speaker of the Senate, and you are also on e-board. So you've got quite a mix of people that you deal with. So is there any bridging that you have to do between those two bodies sometimes, or?
Yeah. So when it comes to the e-board, I think that a lot of senators, when I was a senator, I was like, oh my gosh, what's this group of people? I never really get to see how they're interacting, and I never really went in the office, and I didn't get to really interact with them a lot. And I'm not faulting them. That could have been me as a senator, being very new, but that's how I really wanted to change things up. So I'm literally, every email I send, anytime I talk to someone, come to my office hours. If you have any questions or concerns, please come talk to me. For the senators and for students as a whole, I want to make sure that they know that our office door is open. They're able to kind of see what we're doing, because we're here because of transparency, and that's what I really want. Is I want people to be able to see what we're doing every single day. And so, like I said, my experiences from when I was a senator, I really try and keep that in mind every single day when I'm doing my job, because I want to be there for the senators. I want to make sure they're understanding what's going on, because it's always going to be next man up, or next woman up, or whomever. So it's really, you got to be ready for whatever comes your way. Someone could step down at any single time, and we want to make sure that they have the experience and that they're really willing and understanding to be able to do the job.
Right. And you'll be graduating in April, correct?
Yeah, I will be. That's really weird to say, but I will be, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, so you're basically laying the groundwork for newer student leaders and all that kind of thing. And do you think having that nearly full Senate will help roll in kind of some new leaders, even though some will also be graduating alongside you?
Yeah, that's the great thing about the Senate. The composition of the Senate we have is that they're very young, and now they're experienced, because a lot of them have a year under their belt. So, that is my job. I want to make sure that I lay the proper groundwork for them. We make sure that, we institutionalized a lot of the practices, the norms, what goes on, and there should be an equal understanding of, what goes on in student government amongst the senators. That way, when it's their turn, when they run for speaker, when they run for parliamentarian, or if they apply for the jobs on the e-board, that they're ready to go, and that they all have an equal chance of being able to do this sort of thing, because that is what I would want, if I were them. So I always try and keep that in mind when I'm doing my job.
Right. So what's after student government and after graduation, and how do you think you can use your experiences here to carry you into that next chapter of your own life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I get asked that every single time at a family reunion, but yeah, I think that once I graduate, I am probably gonna try and get a job on a campaign. It's 2020, so it's a really big year. It's a presidential year. I really have no idea where I want to go. I could go across the country for all I know, but I would like to stay in Michigan. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be, doing a campaign as a job interview. It's going to be like a 6-month-long job interview. But yeah, hopefully that's what I'm going to be able to do. But other than that, I have absolutely no idea, and I'm okay with that.
Right. So you are interested in the campaigning side of things?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is experience that you've gotten both within the body, like how you helped with Ethan and Hadger's election, and also you've managed campaigns in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
What's your ideal campaign, ideal candidate maybe?
I wouldn't say that there's a perfect candidate. I think that there's this idea in politics that there is going to be this perfect individual running, or there's going to be, this shining light who's going to guide us. And in reality, they're just like us. And whether or not they've been in politics for 20, 30, 40 years, everyone's going to be flawed. Or if they're, not in politics at all and they're brand new to this sort of thing. So I just try and find the person that best aligns with my values and what I believe in, and, I just go from there, because I know that there's not going to be a perfect candidate out there. And I wouldn't even be saying I'm looking for the perfect candidate, because I just want someone that, hopefully would like me to be a part of their team. So it's kind of like a two-way thing.
Right. And what do you think you bring to that kind of job?
Prior experience always helps. Being the youngest campaign manager for the House Democrats in the 2018 election was definitely a plus for me. So I have that going for me right now, which is nice. And then being able to intern for, like I said, a congressman and a state senator really helps. So I have a federal and a state level understanding. And then, so experience is huge. And then just being able to understand what it's like growing up in Michigan in a middle class family. And, both my parents are teachers, and that's huge for me. So really, I just try and make sure that, I keep my background in the back of my head at all times, because, some people feel like they're forgotten, and that's really what I want to make sure that I'm carrying forward, is just what I, grew up with.
Right. So giving back to Michigan,
Yeah.
maybe giving back to Eastern in the future, or?
Absolutely, yeah. I've said in the past that one of the people I really look up to is Desmond Miller. He's the chief of staff for State Senator Jeff Irwin, and he's also an Eastern alumni. And a person that I got to meet this summer, who I look up to now, is Jason Hoskins, who is the legislative director for State Senator Jeremy Moss, and they're both Eastern grads. So, if I'm able to do what they're doing and giving back to this, Eastern Michigan University, then I think that would be a great place to start. And then, maybe I'll try and do my own thing. Who knows?
All right. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. So
thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. Thank you very, very much.